Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome on to our live Zoom national property tour. We do these every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern. Today, we're featuring two of our investors from our community there in North Carolina, and we'll be bringing out TJ here in just a few minutes, and he'll be walking us through the property. He's live on site. We'll be going over his numbers toward the end. We definitely want folks to type in any questions in the Q&A, and we'll get to those about 2/3 of the way through. A little housekeeping, if we could. Again, my name is Scott Buchholz. I'm a full-time real estate investor. I have real estate transactions going on in Kentucky, Ohio, and Kansas. I've been a part of this national community for over 5 years now. Very honored, very privileged, very excited to be a part of this community. I've built a lot of great relationships through this community, and I definitely would not be the investor I am today without our community and without the sharing of our education and our knowledge that we have so much of. So again, we had a lot of people logging in from different places in the country, and super excited for you guys to be on today. I do want to also mention, if you are a guest today, or maybe you're someone new to our community, and you really like what we talk about today during the Zoom tour, what TJ talks about, and you'd like to learn more about our community of investors, we actually have a business introduction Zoom that happens right after today's property tour. It starts at 12 o'clock Eastern on the button, so we'll end about 11:55 a.m. this morning, so people have time to get over to that Zoom meeting. So that'll be at 12 o'clock. Get back to who invited you, and they can get you the Zoom link. It's a different link than this. And so get back to who invited you, and they can get you all registered, set up, and send you that link. And you can learn a lot more about what we talked about today. So without further ado, I'd like to bring TJ out. TJ, can you turn your audio on for us?
Yes, hi Scott.
Hey, TJ,
okay?
so yeah, I can see you great, brother. You look great. Great smile there, man. You're doing great things in real estate. I love seeing your property tours. We've had you out a couple other times on two other deals that you guys did. So you got a new one to show us. And
yeah, we have been busy, that to say the least. So.
Yeah, so to kind of kick things off, TJ, talk a little bit about your story. Maybe take 2 to 4 minutes out. Tell a little bit about your story, kind of how you found our community of investors, how you started getting plugged in, just a little bit about you. Could you do that for the group?
Yeah, well, I've been interested in real estate for probably about 20 years ago. I read Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad, got me very interested, read a bunch of different books about him, looking into assets versus liabilities, really wanted to get into real estate, but didn't quite know how enough from that. And so fast forward 20 years, I had the opportunity to begin. I thought I was paying off my car and thought, great, I'll have some extra money. I'll get maybe a mobile home or something and start renting it out. And I then got this real sinking feeling that I didn't know what to do. Like, I knew the theory of it all, but I was like, well, what kind of contracts do I use? How do I maintain it? Do I need a property manager? And there was just all these questions. Well, I got my car paid off. 3 days later, the engine seized up and died. So I was needing a new car. I started looking online of other ways like to pay down my car or my mortgage quick. And I came across actually Yuri, who's on the call today, a YouTube video he had put up on velocity banking and paying off our debts in 2/3 of the time. And it was really intriguing. I started a conversation with Yuri, found out about the Renatus community. And to me, it was like, this was the exact thing I needed at the exact right time. And I just jumped in wholeheartedly. I'm in the North Carolina area. I was a little disappointed at first that, there are business centers of Renatus around the country, and I really wanted to, network in person with people. I did a lot of the things on Zoom and doing the study groups and things and meeting a lot of people that way. But I found a couple of people locally that were also students of Renatus, and Jacob Roberts, who apologizes he can't be here today. His son had some oral surgery and needed to recover, so I'm playing the part of cameraman and on-air personality too. But he had been in real estate for a while. He was doing some Zoom meetings and networking, and we really clicked our concept of really wanting to help people. I think that's what really connected us. And so we got together, bought a duplex. It was our first deal together, and started renting that out by the room. It was a 9-room, huge place. And the rest is kind of history. We have now 3 different rental properties in Greensboro, another rental in Morganton, North Carolina, where I live, and we're finishing up a fix and flip in Archdale, North Carolina, about 20 minutes.
That's awesome. That is so cool,
yeah.
man. You guys got a bunch of things going on. I think I've got a ton of deals going on. I got currently 9 projects going on, but you also have a lot going on as well. That's great. So tell us a little bit about how you found this property, because the acquisition and the strategy that you're doing, if I understand correctly, you're doing seller financing. And a lot of people on today may have heard the word owner financing, but we refer to it as seller financing.
Yep.
And don't quite understand how to do all that and how to even approach or how to go about that. So talk a little bit about how you came across this property and how you were able to come. We'll go over the numbers toward the end, TJ. I've got those ready to pull up, but talk a little bit how you put this deal together. And then of course, everybody on loves to see properties, and kind of, they can't be there in person, but they get to see them on the video. So tell us about that. How'd you find the deal?
So this particular one, Jacob came across, and I always say, real estate it's a group activity. We have our contractors, we have our workers, we network with people. And this particular property was owned by a real estate investor herself. Jake got in touch with her. Actually, she got in touch with him once people hear what you're doing, word gets out. And she knew of him through Facebook, a North Carolina real estate investor group, and approached him saying that she had this house. She was retiring. She's living at the beach now. This is her last property that she wanted to sell. So the two negotiated a bit, and she came up with, she just wanted the cash flow. She didn't want to do any more dealing with the tenants and toilets and all of that. So she was willing, she had owned the house outright, so she was willing to act as the bank for us. She took a whopping $1,000 as the down payment. We negotiated that $1,000, and I can kind of begin the tour a little bit. I'll flip around my screen here so you can see. That $1,000 basically paid for the lot, the empty lot next door, so we could own that free and clear. That way we can get different new construction loans. So we're going to be doing building something there eventually. So owning that free and clear for $1,000, and then we have the house. We ended up negotiating that was $55,000 as our mortgage on it. And I can kind of begin here if you'd wish. We're out on the porch here.
Yeah, TJ. So explain. There's going to be a lot of new folks on that have maybe never done a deal before, or do not have any of that education that you and I both have, and a lot of folks on today have. E- Explain what seller financing really is.
Sure, come back to me here. So again, it's the since the owner owned this outright. Look,
There you
there,
go. We got you. We got
I
you.
had a call coming in. Of one of our private investors calling me, so this is a good thing. But since the owner owned this property outright, she was able to basically become the bank for us, which is great because it's, we didn't have to, and anyone who's ever bought a house, like your own house that you live in, dealing with banks, they do credit checks and all the paperwork you have to do, and it takes months to close, and 20% down and all of this stuff. This works out better because as the owner, she was able to do it under her terms. She is becoming the bank. So instead of paying our mortgage each month to, Bank of America or somebody, we are paying her until that's paid off. We have negotiated it to a 20-year mortgage with her. So we pay, I think it's like $433 a month on it. We'll get into numbers later, but it can rent, this house can rent for $850 plus in this area. So it was a wonderful way for us to gain an asset for very little down, and kind of thinking back to my beginnings, thinking I had to have the money to be able to put down, and not knowing that there were such things like this as seller financing, that, with as little as $1,000 down, you could get a house. And, that's not how always seller financing works. This was what we negotiated with the owner. And so it was a much quicker close. We didn't have to go, she didn't check our credit scores. She didn't need our income. She didn't need any of that. It was just two people building a relationship, and agreeing, really helping her, because what she needed, she's older, she's living at the beach, hours away. She just wanted that cash flow, that monthly check each month. She didn't want to deal with the tenant. She was having issues with the tenant at the time. And so she was ready to get out. And, we're building our portfolio and building assets. And so it worked perfectly for us. We were very interested in getting into new construction. She was just going to sell us the house to begin with. And when we found out she owned the empty lot next door, we pulled that into the negotiation, and she understood the strategy that we wanted that free and clear, so we can do different regular bank loans to get new construction and stuff for that. So it's finding that there's multiple ways about it, which I had no idea before. As I said, one of our private lenders was just interrupting. You don't have to have your own money or your own credit. You can borrow money from people and borrow. We have a network now of several different private lenders that invest with us, because they're interested in real estate, but they don't want to do all the nitty gritty. They just want their money working for them. And so we give them a return on their investment, and they're happy to keep doing that over and over again with us. So these were things I didn't know. And again, you don't know what you don't know.
Awesome, TJ. Awesome. So why don't you start taking us through that? We still have about 40 minutes left. Why don't you start taking us through the property? Yeah. And then again, I know people are going to be excited to see the numbers at the end, because our business is the numbers business. This is a good time for me. Yeah, this is a good time for me to throw this out, because we talk about it probably on every Zoom property tour. And that is, as a real estate investor, we make our money at acquisition. If we go into the strategy, in this case, TJ and Jacob, did this and structured this around seller financing, they positioned themselves well. First of all, you didn't have to come up with a lot of money out of pocket, right?
Right.
Either whether it's your money or a private lender's money, you didn't have to tie capital up in this project. Okay, you were able to get into it for very little money. All right, and the fact that the mortgage, which people will see here in a little bit, that you're paying, the allows you and positions yourself even at the rental rates that you discussed. You guys are still positive cash flow every month. So
Yeah.
you set yourself up at acquisition at the beginning of this transaction and positioned yourself right. So great job on that. That's awesome. Oh,
Well,
I
thank
love
you.
love it. I love the hardwoods and everything like that. Tell us a little bit about this and
So
bedrooms and
yes.
square footage and stuff like that.
So yeah, so this home is an older home from the 1950s. It was rented out, like I said, when we were in the negotiation process. The tenant did move out before we purchased the property. So we really loved the wood floors here. You can see maybe a little bit, I don't know how well it shows on camera here, but there is sort of a little dip in the floor here in the living room. So that was the very first thing we had done. There was some water. We had our own in-ground pool underneath the crawl space of the house. So that was the first thing we took care of that, siphoned that water out, found the leak, plugged that, so we could get to the floor here to be able to jack up the floor a little bit, support that so it wouldn't sag anymore. And we are trying to preserve the wood. So we understand they're going to be jacking this up, every few weeks, to get it as level as possible. Ideally, we'd want to keep the floors. We can always cover them if need be, but to keep everything level. But that's how it began. We have painted this room from one of the photographs on the beginning there for the poster there, showed kind of this angle of the front door, and you notice that the room was painted black. This is one of our second properties that had black walls, which is not the ideal situation coming in to try to paint over. So we primed that and painted it, and probably need a second coat on here, but did cover it quite well. To the left here is one of the first bedrooms. So this is technically a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. We've so far just painted the walls on the front 3 rooms. We still need, ceiling painting and trim and all of that. Our initial purchase here too, we had a tenant basically in place that was ready to join us, who was a handyman himself. So he was going to do a lot of work on the property. I am getting call after call. Sorry about that. So what had appealed to us with that is he was going to move in right away, do some of the work that we'll go over here in a minute, in exchange for a reduction in rent. So we had a good thing there, and then it sort of fell through that his father ended up giving him a house. So free rent was a lot better than coming here. So we sort of stopped a little work on this property to focus on our fix and flip. And because of the numbers, this sat empty for a couple of months, and it was still good, having $1,000 in it and just putting out $400 a month. It was still a good deal. So this is basically the master bedroom, and like I said, we have the 1 bathroom. And we have been, in here, we're going to be, as you see the tile there, we're going to be retiling the floor, replacing the toilet, getting the cabinets probably pulled out and put new ones in. I think they're a little bit beyond what we want for fixing them. The walls are decent in here, that we're going to fix those up a little bit. Since it was an older property, as you see, we started pulling down some of the old, I guess like the stucco was on some of these walls, and some of the old paneling type thing. This is I guess you would call it a family room. It could be a third bedroom. It just does not have a closet. So we're considering perhaps putting a closet in this corner here, kind of taking down this wall here, and there's like a little pantry area behind it, and kind of moving that in.
Yeah, if you made that a bedroom, TJ, and added a closet in that room, which you could, I mean, how much more could you get in rent for an additional bedroom?
Yeah, because then we'd be talking, so it's at $850 now as is, so we could probably get, close to 1,000 with 3-bedroom.
Well, that sounds like a no-brainer.
So yeah, so it is something certainly considering. And actually I'll jump to the back. So that was the sort of pantry area there. Part of the appeal that we liked about this property, there's our deck that we need to fix up quite a bit. That all the big ticket items were good. The roof is good, the electrical was good, it's got an HVAC in already. So some of these things, as you're seeing, especially here in the kitchen basically looked more like this wall. We came in and just started tearing that down, tearing out the kitchen sink and all the cabinets. So we're sort of totally remodeling the kitchen here. But that, things like this that might look scary, or holes in the wall or whatever, that's the kind of stuff we want to see. That's lower ticket items. It scares a lot of people away, but if it's got a good roof, electrical's good, HVAC, the rest, plumbing is good. The rest is a lot easier to deal with. So this is the bigger project here in the kitchen. You see, we're starting the new sheetrock up. We've ripped out most of the old flooring to get that in place. As I said, when we first bought the property, there was the water issue underneath the house. That's why you see the kitchen sink over there. We were trying to find where this leak was coming from. The refrigerator, I guess, had a leak in it at one point. And so we ended up just pulling everything out and trying to find things. And here we're kind of wrapping around is the dining room. And the dining room was fairly decent. We haven't painted the walls yet because we had this corner had been an issue. As you kind of see the patch in the ceiling, there was a leak previous that they had fixed the roof, all of that. But there was a big hole in this wall from that just had never been replaced. So as we started kind of pulling down that wall, we found, there were bits and parts that went a little bit beyond that we're going to be replacing.
So TJ, let me jump in here if I could, if you don't mind, because we got a lot of questions coming in, and One of the questions that we're getting, and I'd like to address this question, is about private lenders and about how to find private lenders and about how to, you know, go about that. So when I first found this community, TJ, and everybody on today, I had never done any real estate transactions at all. I had some construction background. I had a lot of retail background, um, but I'd never done any. I had overseen a couple houses being built that we moved into, my wife and I, that type of thing. But I'd never done any real estate investing. I'd never done any flips, never bought any rental properties. And I'd always heard, okay, because I was one of those people that had always had an interest. You said you about 20 years. Well, I had an interest for like 30 some years about real estate investing. I was one of those people that bought Carlton sheets back in its day, and I bought video, VHS tapes, and I bought, DVDs and books and stuff like that. So I'd always heard about using OPM, other people's money, and how, private lenders and things like that. But
Yes.
until I got a part of this group, TJ, I didn't realize that the money, finding funds to do real estate is really not a problem. There's a lot of money. There's over $7 trillion in retirement funds in America. It's one of the largest areas or pockets of money, capital in our country. And I'd heard about this, my whole adult life, that there was, that OPM was the way to go. And so until I found this community, TJ, and I don't know if you can concur with this, I didn't know how to have the conversation. And guys, it's all about learning how to talk to people. It's all about learning how to have a conversation with somebody, whether it's a family member, whether it's a friend, whether it's people you meet at work or church. But people out there want to be involved in investing, but like TJ said earlier, they don't want to have the time, or two, they don't want to do all the, I think you said nitty gritty. They don't want to do all the
Right.
nitty gritty, but they want their money to work for them. Okay. So you can't just, all of a sudden one day say, hey, I'm going to be an investor, and go out and find private lender the first time you talk to somebody. You might, but it doesn't really, you've got to learn how to have a conversation, how to position yourself. You got to have some knowledge. When people meet you and start building relationships with you, and they find out that you're knowledgeable about what you're talking about, you're knowledgeable about your business, they feel much more comfortable and more willing to be maybe one of your private lenders. So, I meet people right, TJ.
Yeah.
I meet people every day that want to be investors, because as a full-time real estate investor, because I do not have a W-2 job, I have not had a W-2 job in 6 years. As a full-time investor, this is what I do. So I love what I do. So I'm talking to everybody I meet, my friends, family, everybody about what I do. And, I talked to, and I'll give you an example. I met somebody yesterday, and I was pulling out of Home Depot like I do. I was picking up some materials, and they said, "Oh, do you build houses?" And I said, "Well, that's one of the things that I do. I also do fix and flips. I have rental properties." And they were like, "Oh, I want to do real estate so bad, but I don't know how to find the money." And or
Yes.
sometimes people say, if I just had more money, I could do real estate. And honestly, guys, being very transparent with everybody on today, that's really not the problem. The problem is you don't know how to have that conversation. You don't know how, you don't have maybe the knowledge and to have that conversation, because finding the money is easy. And I know that may sound like crazy, and I didn't believe that before I found this community of investors. I thought it was the biggest challenge, but now that I'm a full-time and now that I have relationships and I've built those type of things up. That's what I do in all my deals, TJ. I use other people's money. I've been able to raise over $3.5 million using other people's money to do my real estate deals. So there was a lot of questions about that. Another great reason to plug into another, like after today's Zoom, there's a business introduction meeting that you can get a part of that will talk a lot about that. Okay, a lot about that. So
Well,
a couple more questions. Do you want to comment about that, TJ?
just real brief, because that was my major concern, as I said in the beginning, is that I didn't have the money, or so I thought. There is when joining Renatus, I instantly became rich in people, and to be able to network with people and ask questions to other investors. And that's how I made these connections to other private investors. And, as I said, my business partner, everybody came through once I joined this group. It was just like this, opening up of life to me, a different way of life. And the investor that was just, private lender that was just interrupting the call, he actually, and that was a previous property tour we did, he bought a house for $49,000, and we had another investor give us the money to renovate the house. And the house we're putting on the market next week for $280,000. We're going to make at least $100,000 profit on it. And Jake and I have zero money of our own in it. And that's just incredible to me. That was just,
Absolutely.
amazing.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, we had a question in here, great question. For someone who's just getting started, how do you go about this? How do you find deals? How do you find properties? Again, is that something you want to take, or you want me to respond to that?
Yeah, well, there's several different ways. I do not get any of my properties on the MLS. Let me move here because we've got my contractor has just appeared here. So let me get out here so it's a little quieter here. So yeah, I do not get any of my properties on the MLS. In fact, Renatus does have a system of the Renatus iOS that helps find these properties. You can type in your location, and these ones come up that may be in foreclosure. We work a lot with wholesalers, which is a wonderful way to start a real estate career. I kind of jumped ahead and did not do the wholesaling myself. But that's basically finding these properties similar to this, of a situation where, this woman wanted to sell. She needed to get out. So we could have come in and put it under contract for $55,000. We could have turned around and sold it to another investor for $60,000, and we take like a $5,000 finding fee. So we have several wholesalers we work with that go out and are searching for these people who are in foreclosure or just divorce, or a lot of these children that have inherited a property that they live out of state and can't deal with it, don't want to deal with it. So, we don't buy, retail. We want a discount. We want a good discount. As you said earlier, Scott, we want to make sure when we're coming in, we've already made our money on it. The other fix and flip property, that one has such a great, like I said, we'll be making, at least 100,000 on it. Because of the pandemic, it sat a little longer trying to get contractors there, and we had trouble with cabinets and different things. It sat there longer than we wished, but it's okay. Our holding costs were such that it's not affecting us. And in fact, due to the market here, it's probably helped us
keeping it what we were going to sell it for, 250,000. Now they're talking it's probably worth 280,000. So that extra couple of months really helped us, and we'll profit even more from it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So let's get a couple more questions here. And I know we're going to get to the numbers. I've got those to pull up here. Let's see here. Let me go up to the top. I mean, there's been a ton of compliments sent in. We discussed that about investors, seller financing. So again, these property tours, guys, and these are some great questions, but we go about 55 minutes long, so it's really hard to get into a full detail. I mean, I've literally taken 2 or 3 classes on private funding, on seller financing and things like that, 8-hour classes. So it's really hard to type all in there to one of the questions was they want somebody asked for an outline of how to go about this. Again, I would like to comment on that. And it is about relationships. So, when I found this group, TJ, I don't know how different you were than me, but my mindset was kind of like the W-2 mindset. I thought that all I needed to do in life was work harder than the next person, be better at what I did. And so I was trading time for money. And that's what I did my whole adult life. And then when I learned that, building relationships and gaining knowledge and combining those two things together, knowledge and relationships, that was the way to create the time I wanted and create the money that I was looking for. And so it really boils down to relationships and building those relationships, because, you're going to have, I personally, TJ, I get about 3 to 5 deals a week that come to me every week. And I don't even have to look on Zillow, or I don't have to look on Craigslist, or I have so many deals coming to me because over the last few years, I've been building relationships and people know what I do and they've seen my work, and
That's right.
They're constantly sending me deals. So
well, and this is a great example. This deal here is just people knowing that Jake is in the business. We get phone calls from different people. We get emails. The deals, it's not something we're really actively needing to search down. Whenever we want a new property, it's there, as long as the numbers work. And that was the main thing of really showing, learning how to look at a property and having different strategies. I think a lot of people look through the lens of, they're wanting to look at this property as a fix and flip, and that's it. And, our initial investment and idea with this property was a buy and hold. We have a realtor friend, again, networking with people. That's really great. She said, we could probably sell this as soon as we fix up the kitchen a little bit. She said we could probably sell it as is for 75,000 because the market is just so hot. But if we really, fix it up, make it nicer, and I know we're getting into numbers here, but this could be worth 100 to 120,000. So something that we initially stepped into as a buy and hold property, we're considering, well, because of the market, the demand, everything, it may be worth selling it, selling the house, keeping the land next door, building something new there, so we know we have options now. And the possibilities, I think I didn't know, we're talking about private investing and using funds from your IRA. I didn't know you could do that. Our first property, I took a loan from my 401k to invest in the first property. And then we refinanced that to be able to get my initial investment back. I have a house right around the corner. I now have a self-directed IRA retirement account that owns a property around the corner here. So that is now, I got everything out of the stock market, and now I'm investing in stuff I know, which is real estate. And I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know
Yeah,
that was
there's,
possible.
it's like any industry, folks. Every industry has lots of different sayings, but one of the things that we always kind of joke about, it's not a joking matter, but we make light of it, is you really don't know what you don't know. And you've kind of referred to that in several things you said today about what you didn't know. And again, I do want to mention that right after this, guys, we do have a business introduction meeting it literally goes for about 60 minutes to an hour, that will expand on a lot of the subjects that TJ and I've been talking about today. Get back to who invited you, and they can get you that link. And if you're already a part of our community, you know how to find that link. If maybe you just got started and you're part of our national community, you can find that link and you can actually log on to that. And that starts at 12 o'clock. And let's get a couple more questions, and then we're going to get to the numbers so we don't run out of time. We've had some great questions here. And yes, Scott Eagleson, yes, great comment. The more knowledge, the more options. That is so true. Okay. TJ, I've actually done a couple deals over the last 3 years that I accidentally found the deals, like just by having conversations with people. Like, I found a house that I ended up acquiring, me and my partners, we acquired for $13,000. That ended up selling for like $130,000. And we just stumbled into that deal. And how do you stumble into deals? You build relationships. You start letting people know what you're doing, what you're starting to do, and the deals will come out of the woodwork. They literally will. They'll come out of the woodwork. And but you got to build relationships, and you got to start gaining that knowledge. Okay. Yeah, great comment there, Drakkar. Lack of knowledge. Yep, you got to have the knowledge. Let's see what else we got here. Elena, she's got a question about applying for commercial loan. Is your personal credit used? That is a very long subject. Would be hard to answer right away, but if, just generally, if you do not have commercial loan now, if you do not have business credit, to start getting that business credit, you're going to have to use some personal to get started. But we actually have a great class on that, and you could probably get some of that question expanded a little bit more in that meeting right after this, the business introduction meeting. Let's see here. I've tried not to miss questions here. Yeah, Gerard, I typed my name into the chat room. If you want to connect with me on Facebook, you can. Great question again from Elena. She's had a lot of great questions. When you talk about building a team up, TJ, for whether it's a fix and flip or like you're rehabbing that rental property. So that's what we call a fix and hold that you're doing there. Who's all on your team? What are some of the people you build a team with?
Yeah, so here, we have an electrician that we work with, a plumber, and we have a handyman for smaller things, and also a general contractor for larger things. We have a roofer that takes care of the roofs for us, and a HVAC guy. So these are people too that, it is in the connections, that we were recommended these people. And, what's wonderful with working with them, and, we have a realtor too that we're very close with, that we work with. You get to know them and they get to know you. And we have had issues at one of our rentals where one of the toilets was backing up and all of that, and our plumber went out in the middle of the night, took care of it,
You know, didn't need any money up front or anything. You know, he just took care of it for us. And it's in those relationships that, you know, we really treasure, because they have helped us so many times, and they know they're going to get the work, because the more they help us, the more we can help others. You know, and I think that's what really got me a change of mindset from where I began thinking I have to do this all myself. That, you know, but I don't know how to put in a new toilet. I don't know how to, you know, do much of anything. I love to paint. I can paint. I painted this room, beautiful painting. So that's something I will contribute to properties, because it's something I enjoy. We do have a couple people that are professional painters that will come in and do things. So it just all depends. And you were speaking a little bit, Scott, of, you know, that I was coming in from the W-2 mindset that this is my job. So if we're fixing a property, I need to be there and be painting and be, you know, changing out doors and doing everything. And I realized bit by bit that, you know, where the more people we help, they're also helping us. You know, these people are helping us, you know, tremendously. And it was a very different mindset of, you know, it was all before all about me. What can I do? What can I say? And now it's like, you know, we know we're helping people. We're helping our tenants. We're helping employ people. We have an assistant now that is helping us with a lot of the day-to-day activities. So it has really been a blessing in many different ways. And it's really that change of mindset. I think that's been the big thing for me, that I out of it.
That is such great golden nuggets there that you've thrown out there. We got some other questions coming in. Some of these questions, these are great questions, guys, but they're very in depth. I mean, we're talking a lot of time to discuss some of these, but, you know, commercial lenders, you know, finding commercial lenders, again, you know, every market is different. Every area is different. Every commercial lender has different requirements. My best suggestion is to get connected with other investors. You know, plug in with whoever invited you out here. You know, as a community, you know, you know, you can reach out to different people on our team. They can, you know, give advice, or not so much advice, can give you different leads and contacts. But to be able to just give you some top commercial lenders, that's really hard to do. You know, how to estimate your deals. Again, I know, TJ, you talked about, we have a great software program that we have ability to sign up with and use, that actually has a rehab calculator. If you're not familiar with how much it costs to hang, like, I'll give you an example. I mean, I don't know if anybody, I'm not making this as an exercise because we really don't have that much time, but, you know, do you know in your market what the going price is to hang sheetrock, to tape mud, finish it, and get it paint ready? You know, is it $28 a board? Is it $35 a board? Is it $43 a board? You know, those things you learn, but you only do that by building relationships and start gaining knowledge and working with people. And so that, you know, I can look at a house and I can figure out roughly how many boards of sheetrock it's going to take to sheetrock a whole house. And I know that I can get it from one guy. If I get him, he's going to charge me $33 a board. I've got another guy that if I can get him in there and this timing works, he'll charge me $29 a board. You know, I know how much it costs to, you know, like siding and roofing. You know, those are looked at in squares, you know, 10 by 10 squares. So they're called, how many squares does a roof take? How many squares does a house take for siding? What is the going price in your market for that? Again, you've got to start building relationships. You got to get connected to a community. And there's no real cookie cutter answer for any of those type of questions. But I do want to get to numbers, TJ, before we run out of time. These have been
Yeah.
some great questions. Again, I recommend Give Back To invited you out today, and they can get, if you can't make the meeting after this at 12, there's other ones that they can get you onto that you can learn a lot more and answer a lot more in depth on these questions. TJ, can you see the numbers there?
Yes.
All right, so take it from there. Go through these with everybody if you could.
Yeah, sure. So as we've discussed, this was a seller finance deal. So the owner of the property is acting as the bank. The acquisition again cost, it was just $1,000 down. There were lawyer fees in addition to that, so it was a little under 2,000. The rehab, like I said, all the big ticket numbers, the roof, the HVAC, all of that, was done already. So our rehab costs, we're estimating about $5,000. It's costing us right now, about $700 per month. We're paying on the mortgage, we owe $55,000 to the previous owner through the owner financing. So we're paying $433 for her. Then with the, taxes and insurance, electrical and all that right now, it's about $700 a month. Once we get somebody in here renting, they would be taking over a lot of that utility costs and water and all of that. So, getting about $850 a month from a renter. So our total cash flow in pocket is $267. As I had said, this property, to add a few more numbers into there, we want to do it as initially as a fix and hold. So our rehab costs are a little bit less than what they would be if we were doing a full fix and flip. We would put a lot more into the kitchen and the countertops and the different things in the bathroom and kitchen are where the money's made. So we would spend a lot more money in those areas. So that's why where we're at, even with not spending a lot of money in those areas, we still could have gotten, if we sold this basically now, once we, finish the kitchen, the realtor told us just putting up the walls, painting the walls and putting in just the sink, the kitchen sink, we could probably get 75,000 for the property.
So just doing some cosmetic things, you could actually make some profit just the way it is, basically.
Yeah, right. So that would be, that's not even a full, the full 5,000 in. So we could potentially make, 15 to 20,000 just by doing the bare minimum. If we put in a little more effort into it, we've been told this could be, 90 to 100,000. And of course, if we really want to push it, we have another realtor friend that said it could be, 100 to 120,000 on the market now. And it being such a hot market right now, that's being a consideration. I have a friend who lives in Raleigh here, North Carolina, that had a very high-end house. He was asking $750,000. He sold it in a weekend for $850,000 because there was a bidding war over it. So there's just right now, there's so little on the market that, a realtor before would never even consider putting this house on the MLS in its condition. But because there's so little out there, people are looking and they don't mind if they have to do a little work because there's
not much choice right now.
Well, TJ, this has been an incredible property tour. We love having you guys out. Maybe next time on your next deal, we'll get to see Jake. I mean, I know there's a lot of
Yes.
people that have never seen Jake in person, but I can attest he's a real person. And
Yes, he is.
and I know he's a great partner of yours. You've done a wonderful job sharing your deal, guys. You know, again, if you want to jump on in about 5 minutes on the next meeting at 12 o'clock, please get back to invited you. They can get you a link and get you set up with that. TJ, again, wonderful job. We want to respect everybody's time on this Saturday morning, respect your time as well. A lot of great compliments. We tried to get to as many questions as we could, guys. Apologize. Please join us next Saturday at 11 a.m. We are going to be featuring another one of our members. She's actually resides in Minnesota. Her name is Cecilia Hakey, and she's going to be featuring her short-term rental in California that she has with her partners. So that's going to be a really cool one. That'll be next Saturday at 11 a.m. And then the Saturday after that, I was going to be showing one of my properties, but I might give up my spot for an investor on our team from Chicago on her fix and flip. So guys, keep coming out to these. Get back to invited you. There's so many different things you guys can be a part of, and workshops and real estate intensives and other property tours. And we've got stuff in Spanish now. We've got all of our education in Spanish, and we've got property tours in Spanish. And so please keep plugging in. Next Saturday, love to have you guys back out at 11 a.m. Eastern. TJ, thank you very much. And
Thank you for what you do here, Scott. I appreciate it.
Well, we just love paying it forward, helping people, you know, and sharing, you know, you guys can do this. You can do this business. If you haven't got started, if you've maybe just done a deal and you want to, you know, take your game to the next level, you know, we have a great community, great support mechanism. So for now, I want to log off. Thank you guys for joining us today. TJ, have a great weekend, and we'll talk to everybody next Saturday.
Thank you. You too. Goodbye now.